Good afternoon, everyone. Gabe Velazquez here with you, TransparentTradeSolutions.com on a Friday. This is the 10th of April. We have very, very quiet markets going into the weekend negotiations with the Iran peace talks. Let's get right into the charts. Also, um, I'm really excited to offer anybody watching, and there's a link below. If you click the link below, you will get 14-day trial. Spend some time with me just to give you some examples. We bought NVIDIA when it was at one in the low 170s. I give out levels every single day, more obviously specific than we do here in futures. Been talking about $100 oil being neutral. We got some rollover coming up. So if you want to spend 14 days for free, just hit the link below. Let's get right into the charts. That is a free trial. And if you decide to, if you find value in what I'm doing, then obviously you can decide, but it is a free trial. Okay, so let's get right into the charts. Today really not a heck of a lot going on. You've got let me actually bring in the S&P here real quick. Uh, so you've got the S&P literally hovering right where it was at the highs of the week, which is really interesting. We haven't really made any significant progress after the Tuesday pop with the ceasefire and so forth. It's going to be interesting to see if we can hang on and consolidate here and then get another leg higher. If as long as we don't break below 6,800, which is that level there in the S&P, I still think there's maybe a shot to go higher. On the upside, you've got a supply zone sitting right around the 6,950 level. So those are the levels on the S&P. The last couple of days have been very, very quiet. Similarly with the Nasdaq is coming into, it's uh, pulling away from the resistance here. You've got some levels up top here. Under the surface, all kinds of stuff going on, by the way. NVIDIA trying to break out above 185. A lot of my members bought calls on there. We've been trading calls on NVIDIA and so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens. But below the surface, software is getting killed. There's stocks like Palantir right at some really key levels and so forth. So all the action is really in the individual stocks and sectors below the surface. The indexes, other than that, if you miss that big pop, obviously you haven't had much to work with. But I think that's going to change next week. Russell, I keep talking about. That's also very interesting coming into some key levels with regards to the Russell holding these levels. VIX is interestingly again holding at 20. If it can break below 20, then I think this is really going to be bullish. If not, we're going to be back into the kind of 2022 paradigm, which is where we were essentially between 20 and 30. This is kind of the parallel I'm drawing at the moment. We could be in this if obviously if things over the weekend, any kind of constructive negotiations uh, develop. Rates are creeping higher, and I think that's really uh, what may be putting the lid on the stock market today in terms of the general averages. You can see we're trying to get above 430. The key level for rates is going to be obviously 450, 484. So that's interesting. The dollar just cannot break above 100, but it also on the same token needs to break below 98. There's some interesting levels, which again, if you I'll get a little bit more specific. I'm actually talking to my members on the peso, the yen. There's some really interesting situations developing in both the peso, the yen, and Canadian. Gold dead in the water, really not much happening there. Again, I think the key level is going to be 5K. If you look at various styles of contract, that's, I think, going to be the key level. 5K. I think we probably get there if the dollar falls back down. Um, interesting move in copper today. Looks like that's headed back towards 6. And oil, oil, you have to really watch the forward contracts now. We're looking at the uh, June and the July. Uh, those are the contracts you should be looking at. And it's going to, because, we got rollover next week. And it's going to go from 100 to 90. And the new levels are going to be probably going forward now once that contract falls off the May, probably going to be between 80 and 100, I would say. That's going to be the new, this is the June. So I think between, let's call it 80 and 100 are going to be the new levels to look at in oil. With regards to nat gas, that's also looking somewhat interesting. Whether it goes back down to 2 or 2.5, those are the levels to look at. But again, all the action is really below the surface in some of the stocks like Nvidia, Palantir, LNG. Those are the areas I'm looking at closely. In any event, again, sign up for the newsletter if you're interested in spending 15 days with me in the daily sessions. Just hit the link below. Okay. All right. Have a great weekend. Take care.